Good morning, everyone. Thanks for choosing my talk for some of your morning entertainment. I will start by telling you a little bit about me. This is my second time speaking. I spoke last year at the Creativity Conference as well. I know we were all hoping for it to be in Iceland this year, especially me because it's one of my favorite places, but alas, the COVID of it all, and so hopefully we get there next year. I'm going to share my screen. I'm probably going to share and unshare a bunch. So let me just pull it up. Cool. Pushing through what I learned while writing my first show. It's going to be a good one, guys. Here we go. Let's see. Oh, how do I switch? Oh, I think I clicked. Great. Okay, a little bit about me. I was born in Boston, Massachusetts, grew up, fell in love with entertainment, specifically acting, started my career as an actress, studied in New York at Pace University, came to LA, was an actress for a while, became an agent, a talent agent for a bit. And I am currently a creative producer of development for Warner Brothers here in Los Angeles. When I was really young, my father would tell me, you know, you should write a book. I remember I was 10 years old. I read voraciously. I was the girl, I would get in trouble in class at school for reading books in my desk while the teacher was teaching. And it was like this really weird thing because, you know, imagine a teacher yelling at a kid for like reading because the book was more interesting than they were. And so my dad would say, you should write a book. And I, wrote 2 pages of one, gave up. It was too hard. And so continued on with my life, followed my acting dreams. But somehow, a decade or so later, I ended up working as a writer and a producer. And the journey to get there was really interesting. But more so than that, the experience of reaching the point of being paid for my work and realizing that I really do love this was like a really tough journey. So I'm assuming like you guys are writers, and I think there's stages for all of us that you go through, right? Maybe you write for pleasure and it's really fun, and maybe you're writing poetry or you're writing short stories and you're dreaming of making a living out of it. And then maybe you enter the second phase of like trying to get paid for it. Maybe you're applying to magazines, or you're writing and publishing short stories or books. And then the final stage is hopefully to be able to make a living off of it. So the creative process, I found this meme a couple months ago, I guess, that really kind of encapsulated my feelings while I was writing my first show. And to give you guys a little bit of background, my first show was actually an audio series. It was a podcast for Warner called Trapped in Treatment, executive produced by Paris Hilton. And it was an investigative, journey into the troubled teen industry. But if you read this, the creative process, 1, this is awesome. Yeah, I got the job. I'm writing something. Ooh, I'm so excited. 2, this is tricky. You hit a wall, you're like, okay, like, wow, I have to write this whole world. I have to create it. This is terrible. This is the dark night of the soul, the middle of the journey. I am terrible. I can't do this. I don't want to do this. Somebody help me. Somebody save me. And then this might be okay. Oh, this is salvageable, right? Okay, maybe I'll make it through. I'm just going to get it done. I just got to get through it. And then this is awesome. This is amazing. I did it. Like, I'm really proud of myself. This is much better than I thought. And I laughed out loud when I read, this was a meme. I recreated it for this presentation, but it was so real, these steps. And I found it like, I think we all find memes online when we really relate to them. And I was like, wow, you nailed it. You nailed it on the head. So the first part of that, the first act is I got this. Getting a job as a writer, or deciding to write your first project, your first film, your first novel, is a really amazing moment. You know, you don't get anything done if you don't start. And I love this quote by Sheryl Sandberg, which is, "What would you do if you weren't afraid?" And I know for me, especially before I started working for Warner as I do now, I've always been big on taking risks. And I think for writers, it's especially important because there's no real rule book about how to do it, how to get to where you want to be, and you just kind of have to go for it. And so if you take that first step and you have started writing, bravo, because you're believing in yourself, you're taking the first step on a long journey, and you can only go up from there or down, depending. So for me, and I'm specifically talking about the first project, right? This was different for me because writing for pleasure and writing for work are two very different things. And I learned this very quickly. I had written projects before, I had produced projects before, but I had never completely owned, from concept to production to publication or to launch a show. And I was the lead writer, the primary writer of this show. It was a 12 episode series, lots of research, lots of different interviews because it was an audio series. We weren't working with videotape, we were working with audio tape. So I knew enough to make an outline, and I cannot stress enough how important that was. I didn't realize it at the time. I mean, it's a bit basic, common sense, make an outline, but make a good outline. Make one that breaks down, the big macro view, and then break that macro view down into micro views. And now that I'm past this part of my journey, it is the first and most favorite part of a project, because I know if I create a good outline, I can accomplish it. Because what you do with an outline is you structure the entire show or movie or book without knowing what you're going to write. You don't really know what you're going to write, but you know your journey, right? You're going to make a film about a girl who loses a family and grows as a result. That's the macro. And then, so what was her life like before? Break that down. What happened when she lost her parents? Just beats, right? Break it down. And then to the end, because when you have that, it's very hard, as you'll see in the next step, which is when you get lost, that you basically have it. And if you just keep following that outline, you will end up with something. You will end up with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And make a plan. So obviously once you're in, the reason I'm sharing a lot of this, make a plan, it seems simple, but when you obviously working for a studio, there's EPs, there's people above your head that you have to report to. And as intimidating as it can be, it makes you have to present to them a plan, right? I'm going to deliver this by this date. We're going to have our midway meeting this point. And that plan, just like the outline for your show or your book, is a plan and an outline for the journey. And the third most important thing, and I'm sure you guys all know this, but set a deadline. Even if you're not getting paid for it and it's a personal project, set a deadline and stick to it. Because if you don't, I feel, or I experience, that it can be almost impossible to finish, because as creatives, we can just keep going. We can edit forever. We can just make changes forever. We can second guess ourselves forever. So make and set a deadline. So the second act, the middle of that original meme, which is where am I will say that my, sorry, how do I go back? This way? Yay, okay. Writing my first show was the most difficult and all-consuming seasons of my life. And I say this lightly now, but it was scary at points. I've been through a lot in my life. I'm sure we all have, right? And I won't say it was the most emotionally hard, but it was the most creatively all-encompassing things. And I think, because I was getting paid, because I was working for a major company, because I had EPs that were very important, I didn't have a choice. But let me tell you, and I think this is normal, and I want to tell everyone, like, there would be nights I was crying in my bed, like just ready to quit, scared, not scared like of anyone, but like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I cannot see the forest. They say you can't see the forest for the trees. And that's where I was. I was lost in the middle of it. And I remember saying, to my partner, I don't know if I can do this, but I have to do this, because if I don't, like, my reputation, my career's on the line, but also like, I'll be disappointed in myself, right? I had set this goal. It was both, yes, a professional goal, but a personal goal where, like, I'm already in it. And if I'm scared shitless, I don't know if I can curse on this. Hopefully the replays, I don't know if they beep it out, but I might as well keep going. But what I want to say to everyone is, or what I took from it is, I think this is a normal part of the writing journey. It's when the outline that you made before you got into it becomes really important. And that if I can stress anything, it's just keep going. Because I literally at times, like, I'm putting a story together, right? You're putting pieces, you're in a world, especially if you're writing a book or a film, you're just putting pieces. And when you feel lost, you feel like, I don't even know what the story is. So how am I even writing anything that makes sense? But if you keep going and you keep piecing pieces of it together, it starts to take shape. And, I always thought the stereotype portrayed in movies, when they say a writer like goes off into a room, like, and you've probably all seen a movie where like a writer like locks themselves in their office and their family isn't allowed in, and they only come in to give them coffee and they scream at them, like that's real. Like that's not a stereotype. And I always thought it was funny, because I was like, no, when I was writing for pleasure, I was like, it's fun, writing's fun. You do have to get into a zone, but like, I'm not a crazy hermit. But let me say, there may be a time like you may have to lock yourself away, because we are creating an entire world, and hopefully you have people in your life who can understand that. But I don't think that stereotype is false. And now, like, going into projects, I know like there's going to be, when the writing starts, right? In pre-production, fine. I'm a normal person. Post-production, I'm relatively normal. But I tell people in my life, I'm like, I won't be coming out for lunches. I won't be answering your text messages. I won't be available, and I think that's a sacrifice of our craft. And something I realize is, like, just like athletes train, you kind of have to remove yourself. Otherwise you will get distracted, and it does become very difficult to kind of bring yourself back to the world, or to drop in. And I'm sure many of you guys know what I mean by drop in. It's a thing. But I had to keep going. Cool. Let me see where we're at. Okay. And the third act, which is the light at the end of the tunnel. So like I said, at some point, and I just want to stress, like, this stretched me. And I know if you're a writer, you probably know what I'm saying, but like, take all that pain and like all that angst, and every creative form, every creative creative craft, every form of creativity has this. If you're really doing it, and you're doing it to reach the end, and to make it, and not make it, I don't mean that in terms of success or in any certain sense, to make the project, to finish the project. Embrace all that angst and pain and do it and go through it, because it is really worth it. And even if your first project doesn't end up how you think it will, getting through that alone will teach you so much about yourself. It'll teach you perseverance. It'll teach you dedication. It'll teach you that you are a writer, that I did it. I wrote something. And to that point in the third act, I will say the final and most important lesson I learned was to finish, right? So before I was getting paid for it, I have drafts, guys. I have drafts. I have drafts. I'm sure you guys have drafts. I have drafts for days, different projects, different lengths, different formats. You know, I had ideas that were half done, 3/4 of the way done, but they were never finished. And my final tip to you is to at one point finish, you know, and that's why I say set a deadline. Obviously it's different if you are writing for someone, as I said, you have a deadline, right? So you have to finish it. But, and I'm obviously here because I believe in independent work. I do work for a studio right now, but these are lessons I learned by being forced through this ring of fire and having to deliver to, you know, people that I did not want to disappoint, but it gave me the strength to know when I step away now and write my own projects, you have to finish them. And that just means like, it doesn't mean they'll be finished. Because as I said, we write, us writers, we can edit forever. We can always come back and just completely change one character's arc again and again and again. And if you do that, you'll never feel complete. And so that's why the deadline is important, and to pick a date and to finish it, and to just put it down and say that this is finished. And then after that, to share it, you know, share it with other people. Let them, you know, give their opinion, don't take it too seriously, and let it go after that. And whether that means, you know, printing it, like actually finish it. Like don't just finish it in a drive, like print it and bind it. Have it as a script on your shelf so you can tell people, look, I wrote a book, I wrote a script. It's there, it exists, you know, register it with the WGA, register it with whatever Writers Guild or local union or type of thing that you can, so that it's set, and publish it. You know, self-publishing for books is huge now. Register with the WGA, as I said, start shopping it to people, try to get it made if it's a film, which is a whole nother journey that I'm not going to talk about today. But yeah, just finish it, get it out there, and then start again. So those are the three main things I learned through this journey, was that you need to make an outline and set a deadline. In the middle of it, you're going to be lost. You're going to want to quit. Do not quit. Just keep going. Literally, if it means striking one key at a time, just keep going, because there will come a day when you're like, oh my gosh, there's the story here, for better or for worse. And then finish it and let it go. Because if you don't do that, you'll never feel complete. So that's it. It was a journey, but I made it through. If I can do it, you guys can too. That's it for my presentation. I think that we're going to open up the floor.
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much. That was wonderful. And I don't remember if I've mentioned this yet or not, but everyone will have a chance to rewatch this as many times as you'd like, as the recording link will come out in the same way that you were able to access the schedule. So be looking out for that. But in the meantime, please drop your questions or comments in the chat and we can talk about them for the next few minutes before we have to sign off. Perfect. So I don't know if everyone can see, but Christine just added her email in here. Christine, is there certain things that you're willing to get emails about to answer, like our normal, questions, okay? Or is there something that you're like, I don't have time for that sort of conversation?
No, I'm pretty open. It's not my work email, it's my personal email, so be kind. But yeah, I'm open to like everything. Like I'm open to, if you guys want to submit some things to me, if you have scripts, please do. If you want to ask questions, yeah, send me an email. Yeah, I'm super accessible. I'm also on LinkedIn. You can send me a chat. I'm very open. I'm relatively at the beginning of my career, as it were, and I'm just super excited to network with other creatives. That's why we're here. So yeah,
amazing.
Send me anything. Does anybody have any questions? I would love to answer some, or tell me what you're working on. Is anyone working on? Are you guys all writers? Like, drop it in the chat. What is this? Yeah, I know Brian is. He did a great pitch yesterday. Brave pitch is you did it, and it was great.
I listened to everything he said and took notes, and then I honed it. And he and I went back and forth overnight, and now it's just like 3 or 4 lines. So
Amazing.
you won't hear that giant spiel from me again.
Yeah, no, but I thought it was so brave of you. Pitching in general, like, just scares me. I was at the Cannes Film Festival this year, and it was they had like these pitch sessions like that, and I was like, oh my God, you know, because you're pitching in front of a bunch of people in the industry. So good on you just for doing it and for getting that feedback.
That's why I did it, was to get it out, you know, because
Yeah.
I'm kind of out of practice for maybe a year with pitching, because I've just been traveling and writing. And that really, like, my heart was pounding. It took me 3 or 4 hours to fall asleep because of that. So,
Yeah.
but now that I know who you are and who he is and everything, and now it's out, and now I'm like, oh, I feel better. I could do that again. Let's have better.
Exactly.
Let's go. Just get the first one out.
And where is everyone here like located? I think you're in the UK, right, Brian? Anybody else? Where you guys at?
Tbilisi, Georgia.
Oh, you're in Georgia. Okay, you
Yeah,
pointed.
the country, Georgia.
Oh, amazing. Heard it's beautiful there. Los Angeles.
Tbilisi. Wow.
Yeah, it's super beautiful.
Is that the Georgian flag behind you? You pointed at it yesterday.
No, sorry, that's the Union Jack. So I was trying to say, hey, guess what, UK, to all the UK guys, and this is just the Airbnb I'm staying in. So I'm like surrounded by UK and US, like, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, you're just hanging out there and writing. That's amazing.
Yes,
The
ma'am.
dream. Yeah.